We've got week 5 fantasy football literally just hours away at this point. And even though the Thursday night matchup is not great, what I love is the video we're doing right now. One of my favorite videos of the week is the top 12 defense rankings, and that's what we're doing today. Yesterday was the rest of season defenses. Now it's time for week 5 fantasy football defenses. We're going through the top 12 right now, guys. And what I do at the end of every single defense ranking video, I give you guys a bonus defense off of the list for you guys to pick up for the next week. So make sure to watch to the end to catch all that. And I am one of the only fantasy football YouTubers who does defense consistently in fantasy football every single week. So please make sure to go down there, drop a like, and subscribe to the channel to show your support. It is greatly appreciated. So the first tier up here, I told you guys last week, they were actually my bonus pickup of the week to throw on the back of your bench if you had the bench space. Now they're number 1. I've got the Detroit Lions taking on the Carolina Panthers. The Detroit Lions are in a great situation here, not just because the matchup's great, which obviously you can see that it is, but this is the number 8 defense in fantasy football in 2023 so far. And keep in mind, they've played the Kansas City Chiefs. They've played the Seattle Seahawks. So they have played real teams this year, and they're still doing great. 8.8 fantasy points per game, averaging over 3 sacks per game. This team is physical, they're getting after your quarterback, and they're causing turnovers as well. So the Detroit Lions, to me, they're a great defense moving forward. But of course, this week the matchup is fantastic. You're taking on the Carolina Panthers here. It's a great matchup. There's no question they're number 1 this particular week. Number 2, I've got the Saints defense taking on the New England Patriots in New England this week. So it's honestly similar to Detroit. They're in a situation in New Orleans where this is also a very stout defense. New Orleans defense is very, very stout. And you can see the numbers on the screen. Like, nothing stands out as super impressive. But what you can see when you actually watch them play, they're very, very physical. They're very stout, stopping the run. They've got really good rush defenders, and they've also got a good secondary as well. They don't allow too many things to go on as far as yards go. But this is a good week for them, obviously, because the matchup is great. The Patriots defense, that's a treat. That's a treat matchup you can get. I love the Saints this week. Number 3, I've got the Ravens defense taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh this week. Listen, you can see the numbers on the screen. The Ravens defense in fantasy football right now, they're doing great. 9.5 fantasy points per game, almost 4 sacks per game. They're getting after your quarterback, and they're getting turnovers right now. The Pittsburgh offense is, like I said the other day, they're a Mickey Mouse offense. It's embarrassing. Matt Canada should be fired, but he won't until after the season. Trust me, I know this for a fact. But this is a reality here that Pittsburgh is just so bad offensively. Even if Kenny Pickett plays, it doesn't make a difference because the offense is so low upside. I'll take the Baltimore Ravens in this matchup for sure. Number 4, we've got the Indianapolis Colts defense taking on the Tennessee Titans in Indianapolis this week. So here's the thing about the Colts defense. Last week, I had them here inside the top 10 as well, and it didn't work out. Obviously, they played the Rams. Not only did they lose that game, but they gave up 31 points. So it wasn't a good call last week. I'm doubling down this week, though. This is a good defense. I'm telling you, look at the numbers right now. And when you watch them play, you can see the numbers being backed up when they do play. This is a team that's averaging 8 fantasy points per game, over 3 sacks per game. They're getting turnovers as well. 1 forced fumble, 2 forced fumbles per game. This is a team that's not going down lightly. They're physical, they're aggressive, they're athletic, and the matchup this week is better than they had last week versus the Los Angeles Rams. I'll take the Colts defense here at number 4. Number 5, I've got the Texans defense rising up the rankings, taking on the Atlanta Falcons. So here's a little thing for you guys. If you're new, before the season started, I said, I think that D'Amico Ryans is going to make this team a very good defense more towards the back half of the season. Once they get some cohesion, once they get up to the system. Yeah, I was wrong. They're already there. They're already a very good defense right now. D'Amico Ryans, he's a stud head coach. And like this goes to the notion of former players becoming good coaches. Dan Campbell, former player, great coach in the NFL. D'Amico Ryans, great coach in the NFL. There's a lot of these guys that are doing great, and D'Amico Ryans is one of them. I mean, they're averaging 8 fantasy points per game right now, and this is a good matchup here as well. So the Houston Texans defense, they're going to probably start being consistently inside of my top 12 at the very least. Miami Dolphins, matchup of the week possibly, aside from the Detroit Lions. They're taking on the Giants, and that's why they're here at number 6. I'll be honest here. I don't love Miami's defense. Like, the talent they have on defense is simply not that good. Vic Fangio's a good coach, a good defensive coordinator, but the talent is not really there. So they're really handicapped by the talent here, but the matchup is excellent. The Giants' offense is awful. Absolutely awful. So you can't not start the Miami Dolphins defense this week. Number 7, I've got the Bills defense taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars in London this week. Just to keep in mind, this is a London game and it will be starting at 8:30 a.m. Central Time. So make sure to set your lineups before you go to bed on Saturday night. And I'm fine playing the Bills defense this week. Look at the numbers on the screen right now. Their defense is crushing it. 14 fantasy points per game, 4 sacks per game, and 2 picks per game. Yeah, this defense is crushing it right now. And mind you, they're not even healthy right now. Von Miller, their best pass rusher, he's out right now. Defensively, on the back end, Jordan Poyer missed a game last week. And Tre'Davious White, he tore his Achilles, so he's done for the year. This defense has done very, very well with what they've had. So the matchup is not great here, but they're bullying teams right now. And Jacksonville is not at their best right now either. It all adds up for me personally. At number 8 here, we've got the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Dallas Cowboys this week here. Listen, let me just tell you this right now. You can see the numbers on the screen right here, and it's not like they're doing great. Like, they're actually a bottom half team in fantasy football through 4 weeks. I'm going to just tell you this right out of the gate. This is an intuition call right here. And let me tell you what I mean. The reason I'm having an intuition call right here on why San Francisco is going to be a top 10 defense this week is because, first of all, Dallas does not have a bad offense. Like, I'm not calling Dallas's offense bad. They're putting up 30-plus points on opponents. They're not a bad offense at all. I think that Dallas has a little brother complex when it comes to the San Francisco 49ers. That's my opinion. And specifically Dak Prescott. I think Dak Prescott is actually going to turn the ball over several times like he did in the playoff game last year. I could be wrong. I could be totally wrong. Like I said, this is just an intuition hunch I'm giving out right now. But I think that the 49ers defense is going to be a good play this week because of that right there. Cardinals defense taking on the Cincinnati Bengals in Arizona this week. Let me tell you this right now. I don't love the Cardinals defense. They're not a defense I'm actively targeting in fantasy football. But the Cincinnati offense is simply putrid right now. They're awful. Joe Burrow is not healthy. He's clearly not healthy. So there's lots of issues here going on with this situation. I think Cincinnati's going to get it rolling at some point, but I don't think it's going to be this week. And Arizona's feisty right now. Like, Arizona's been putting up fights consistently against, like, everybody they've played. They're not always coming out on top, but they're putting up good fights here. 3 sacks a game, that's not a bad number here. I think just from a matchup perspective and how bad Burrow's playing, I'm comfortable having the Arizona Cardinals on my list this week. And I know it sounds weird, but I am. Number 10, I've got the Philadelphia Eagles this week taking on the Los Angeles Rams right now. So they're in Los Angeles. It's not like the matchup's any good or anything. Like, it's not a great matchup. It's not a bad matchup. And in fact, last week, Philadelphia's defense got trampled on by Washington's offense. Like, they give up 30-plus points and almost lost in overtime. That's not very good. But this team overall is still just stacked defensively. 9.3 fantasy points per game. Almost 3 sacks per game. They're averaging a bunch of turnovers per game. I think this defense is probably a little bit embarrassed about what happened this past weekend. And I think they're going to come in pretty motivated to do some work this week against the Los Angeles Rams. Number 11, I've got the Washington Commanders defense this week. The Washington Commanders, they're taking on the Chicago Bears. So, arguably, another top matchup right here. I mean, it is a top matchup right here. And really, that's the main reason they're up here in this list. But I will say, like, looking at the numbers, it's not bad still. Even though they have a lot of points to a team like Philadelphia, their numbers are still not bad. I mean, they're averaging 7.5 fantasy points per game. So it's not like they're doing anything great, but they're still holding their own. And that front seven is still very, very good. I think that front seven is going to get after Justin Fields tonight on Thursday Night Football. Rounding out the top 12, I've got the Dallas Cowboys in that matchup versus San Francisco this week. So kind of alluding to what I said earlier, I think San Francisco's offense is better than the Dallas Cowboys offense. I don't think a lot of people debate that either. They've got a better running back, and Tony Pollard's not bad, but Christian McCaffrey's great. They've got a deeper wide receiver core, and some people would argue that Brock Purdy's better than Dak Prescott. Listen, when Dallas lost Trayvon Diggs this year, I knew that there was going to be some drawbacks here. Obviously, they looked great last week, and they're a great defense, which is why they're still on here in a bad matchup. But San Francisco has had one giveaway all year. This is not exactly an opportunistic play right here for a defense. But Dallas defense, like I just said, they're too elite to leave off this list. And as promised, my bonus defense pickup for next week, if you have a deep bench or if you can afford to hold a second defense. I hate to do this, honestly. I was wanting to go with another defense like the Miami Dolphins or like the Philadelphia Eagles. You can't pick those up. They're too heavily rostered. I got the Minnesota Vikings again. Yeah, I know. The Minnesota Vikings are, again, the bonus defense pickup in 2 of the last 3 weeks. But they're playing the Chicago Bears. Like, that's a matchup you cannot ignore. And by the way, Minnesota's defense did very well last week against the Carolina Panthers. As I said before the week when I called them a bonus waiver wire pickup, I think we'll see the same thing again next week. Chicago's a bad matchup. They're a great matchup for a defense in fantasy football, but they're just a bad offense. I'll go ahead and say the Minnesota Vikings here. So let me know what you think of the defensive rankings in the comments below and what questions you need answered before week 5 fantasy football. And if you want to see the top 12 defense rankings in fantasy football for the rest of the season, click on this video right here.